They turned the box office jets into the office jets.
My apologies, Sandra Sully here with the late news clip.
They're a team you don't want to face in finals.
If the ref isn't there, is Bratt still going to get there to cut off that pass?
If I go what I'm seeing, I think that's a penalty.
Hello and welcome A-League fans to another episode of the A-League's Download presented by Isuzu Ute. The Wanderers get a much needed win in style. VAR has us all talking at home. And did we see the assist of the season over the weekend? I'm your host, Jake Barker-Daish, and joined today by Perth Glory legend, Naum Sekulovski.
Wow.
And former Premier League goalkeeper and A-League goalkeeper for Melbourne City, Thomas Sorensen. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, we've had a big few weekends in the A-League, a lot of results, a lot to get through today. And we have to get straight into what have been some cracking goals and a wonderful moment across the league as well. But let's start with the bangers of the week. And let's look at the first one, Thomas, with the striker long up at Brisbane, a free kick here that got them going.
Yeah, no, a great bit of, training ground exercise that's, again, sometimes you got to look at new things and it opens up the goal. Matt Sutton can't really see it. And I got to question the blocking. You know, if you go to block it and that's your job, you got to be willing to lose your fertility. And I don't see much of that in this situation. So, you know what, you got to throw yourself at it. So that would be disappointing from Perth. But you know what, great bit of training ground imagination from Valkanis' side.
Yeah, wonderful goal there from Chris Long. Not to take anything away from the goal, but would you have been hurling some French at that player that had turned his back if you were the man behind him?
Yeah, for sure. Because that again, that's your job. Like, you've signed up for it, and you got to throw your body at it and not turn your back for sure.
He's got to put his pills on the line, Tomo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Keegan Jelassic...
No shying away from that.
Keegan Jelassic was the other banger of the round this week, now, because this was a brilliant bit of play on a very well-regarded defender in the A-League, Kikianis, sent him to the cleaners here.
Mate, he absolutely sent Kikianis to the Budek shop, half cheese, half meat, cuts in and then finishes brilliantly. But again, I think Mata assist, 10th of the year. Jelassic, cool, calm, collected and finishes it for victory. To be fair to Kikianis, probably having a decent game, and has a pretty good game throughout, but it just shows you that one little slip up and a great finish from Jelassic.
Yeah, great little bit of play as well from Mata again.
Yeah, again, 10 assists for the year. I think 75 chances created or something absolutely ridiculous. So he's flying.
You dropped the powerful word there, assist, because we might have seen the assist of the season. Let's have a look at this from Cicluna from Western Sydney Wanderers. Just a little bit of a Maradona turn in there. Beats one, beats another. Talbot goes for the ball, misses it. He's off here running towards a goal. He's got Borello on the back stick, finds him with the left foot. Thomas, that is as good as you see. I mean, questionable defending, you have to be honest, but you can't take anything away from Cicluna here.
You know what, it's a great bit of skill. But, you go past four players, a few half-hearted challenges. You got to be disappointed. And I think, if you're Macarthur, that's a goal you can't concede. But Cicluna, great. I think, you would be happy with that in your day.
Mate, my only reservation here is, like you said, maybe some of the defensive or lack of defensive aggression from the Macarthur players. That's what Miller might be asking. But in terms of individual brilliance, for a bloke that had half a right knee, he's got some black strapping around it. To do what he did there, it's got to be the assist of the year, surely.
Well, Butker, you speak of the assist. Western Sydney Wanderers had a much-needed boost over the weekend. They very clinical, Thomas, you could say, this time around Macarthur, which was probably their problem at the start of the year. All these chances they were getting, not being able to score. Then they take 4 out of their 5 on the weekend.
Yeah, no, we were always sitting, waiting for something to happen. And Van Ekman has come in. I think Ryan Fraser has been a great addition. He's provided a spark. And ultimately, we see in this league week in and week out. Like, you've got to take your chances when you're on top. And again, Macarthur will be disappointed. A few of the goals they conceded, got caught on the break. Ugarkovic we see here coming in. He actually had a header as well where he could have got them on 2-0. But here they make a mistake in Ryan Fraser. That's probably the worst player to give the ball to in that situation.
Yeah, and then this is the moment we saw earlier with Brandon Borello taking it as well. But I mean, you wouldn't think it, but I mean, with the season Western Sydney Wanderers are having, but there's still a chance. And games like this and performances like this are a real boost for the whole team, for the whole club.
It's funny, it's super tight, and we look across the whole league, potentially the whole league still mathematically, a step away from being in that top 6. So, but from a Western Sydney perspective, they've turned it. Van Egmont's come in. And I think 5 chances, like you said, super clinical, 4 goals. On the flip side, Macarthur with the 19 chances. And they've got some firepower up front as well, right? They've got two of the most powerful strikers in the league. So plenty to think about there, but really positive for Western.
Yeah, well, this might be a bit of a topic of the episode, but there's a lot of decisions we're going to be looking at that happened over the weekend, as we do here on the download. And Thomas, we're going to start with this one because I believe Kraev's goal on the weekend started with a bit of controversy from Macarthur, a ball from De Silva, played across the middle. Bratton runs into the referee. Then Kraev scores a goal, and you can see the turnaround. I mean, what do you make of this?
It's obviously unfortunate, but everyone is talking about what is the referee doing? Is he blocking? But for me, De Silva, he's playing a ball that he doesn't need to play. He can play it sideways, and I think Bratton as well. He makes a big meal out of the contact. I think he'd do a better job at getting around the referee, and ultimately, it's not like he's in camouflage, is it? He's got the most neon jersey on, and this is just what happens. I don't think he initially or deliberately blocks him, and you still, it happens at halfway line. You still got 4 or 5 players there, and that's not an excuse in my eyes.
Yeah, and Butker, I mean, the ruling is if the ball hits the referee obviously usually will stop the game.
Yep.
Here, obviously, we don't see it too often a player collide with the referee. I mean, are you comfortable with how that play resumed?
Yeah, I think if we look at it, if the ref isn't there, is Bratt still going to get there to cut off that pass? That's probably the question we need to ask ourselves. Potentially not. I mean, I love Bratz, but really to Tomo's point, I'll probably go back to that initial pass, right? It's a pass that, really takes Bratz out of the equation, and that's why the referee likely makes that decision, because it potentially wouldn't have an impact. Look, some of it's crystal ball stuff, unfortunately, but clearly the referee's made that decision, and it's likely the right decision.
And it's probably not something Macarthur will be reviewing and kicking themselves for. You mentioned Butker, they had 19 shots versus 5 on the weekend and lost 4-0.
Yeah.
They're a team that we know has a lot of quality, a lot of experience. 2 points in the last 4. I mean, are we expecting them to have a stronger run home? We know they've been in Asia, but it seems like they're just on that tinkering point of really dropping out of the 6 or still staying in that top 4.
Well, it's funny, if they can get their 2 big guys, and they've got 2 aces, right? Like they've got Sawyer, who was in super form before Duke lands, and now they're sort of rotating between the 2, Tomo. So it'd be nice to see what and how Millie and the Macarthur team can make use of them 2 guys potentially in a starting lineup. But again, from a defensive perspective, I think you see Uzkok having a crack at one of the midfield runners for not tracking. So there's, you got to get it right on both ends of the park.
Yeah, and here's an array of their chances.
Again, Mitch Duke, we saw Liam Rose before missing chances. They hit the post. You know what? Sometimes you need a bit of luck. Maybe a bit of quality. We see this Harrison Sawyer. This is what he does best, and you can't really keep him down. So I think ultimately it comes down to who wants it the most. You come into this run of 6-7 games they got left. Like, who wants it? Right? And you got to get the job done. We see other teams getting it done, and it's going to be tight now for the last spot in that top 6.
Yeah, it is.
And Macarthur, it's for them to lose it.
And we may or may not be predicting who our 6th position will be in the show. So looking forward to that. Macarthur do play Central Coast on Wednesday as well, which is going to be a cracking game. We do have a fan question in which we've thrown in just in the middle of the show for everyone at home. This is from _Xavier Austin on Instagram, a great one here. What's your opinion, guys, on the Mitch Duke signing? So currently 8 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. Solid start, you could say. But I mean, I think in the parameters of probably their trajectory of results of late, that's prompted maybe this question.
Yeah, I think he's a great player, and I think for the A-League he's perfect. I think what you want is a player coming back with motivation. He's got the World Cup, so he's motivated. I think his output is okay. We've seen him miss a couple of chances as well in this game. But it also, for me, I think it's more like you touched on it. It's that dynamic with Harris and Sawyer. I think they were very set. Now, you got to sort of balance it. And Mitch Duke might get the call most of the time, and Harrison Sawyer is sort of back to being that guy off the bench. And is it working right now? That's the question mark.
Mm. Butker, you're happy with that?
Yeah, look, I'll probably echo a lot of the sentiment that Tomo just mentioned. I think it's about really finding that balance between the 2. And can they potentially, start in a team together. Again, that's for greater heads to decide at Macarthur. But imagine having two aces up front, really with scoring power from either of them two, and/or the assists that might come, and bringing others into the game as well. So yeah, plenty to think about for Macarthur. It is a challenge when you do have two strong footballers and two strong number 9s. Usually a great problem to have, but might be slightly challenging for them at the moment.
Yeah, well, I guess what's not up for debate is Mitch Duke gives you more than just goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the off-the-ball stuff. Yep. It's the leadership in the change room. So I think it is a good signing, absolutely, for Macarthur. We looked out to Auckland over the weekend because they have been a team in form over February. Undefeated in February with only 1 goal conceded. They are just getting ever so closer to the Newcastle Jets up the top. Guys, we're starting to see Auckland being back to their best here, Thomas. I mean, I know this was against your team, but...
No, but they're efficient. And I think they've been that for a long time. They've probably had a bit of a wobble, as I said, in January, but now punishing teams, taking their chances, and they got a man in form in Randall, who's at the moment I think is the most electric player in the league. He provides a goal and assists, his pace, everything else, and we can talk about their back line. They've got the experience there as well. So I think they're just the most well-rounded team in the league, and now they've got people firing as well.
Butker, Thomas mentioned him, Jesse Randall. He's been a delight this year. I mean, he's now leading the Golden Boot leader, which is all rights to go and win it the way he's playing at the moment, as Thomas said. His impact on them, though, particularly over the last month, has been instrumental. I mean, do you see Auckland just kind of timing their run maybe a little bit more off the experience they had last year where they were clinical up the top and then dropped away in the finals?
Yeah, absolutely. And we know how important that is within this type of structure, finals football. You want to make sure that you're coming in and you're peaking at the right time. And I think that's what they're doing a little bit better this time round. I mean, Mai's come back in. I think he had an assist and goal yesterday. Randall's been, unbelievable all year. I think they'd be hard pressed to keep him there next year. I'm not too sure what his contract looks like.
Oh, he's off to Dundee.
There we go.
So yeah, this is the last time they'll have him for a period of time.
My apologies, Sandra Sully here with the late news. Clearly I missed that one. Right. Anyway,
breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news. Love your work, Randall.
I mean, I don't know if people do know that, but that's what's happened.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, and that's
you can understand why, right?
Yeah. It's not surprising, right? He's been an absolute superstar. But I think for Auckland, absolutely timing their run perfectly, and they're just like Tomo mentioned, they're solid. From start to finish, from top to bottom. So they're going to be a really, really hard team to stop come finals.
Yeah, just quickly, is there a team that can stop Auckland in your eyes?
What do you mean, for the league or for the...
For everything. Because we talked
Of course. We talked about Newcastle, I think. They're in great form. And again, we saw last year, victory. They went to Auckland and pipped them there, and got the result. So, when you get to finals football, anything can happen. And it is about that momentum, peaking at the right time, getting your players fit. And there's a lot of things still to play out. So I'm not giving it to them.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, the Jets do love Auckland. They're winning all the time out there, which no one ever thought was possible. This is going to be one of my favourite parts of the show. I'm not going to lie, because there were 2 penalty shouts across both games in New Zealand, which has already riled debate and conversation back here in the green room before we jumped on air. But guys, there was a couple of dubious decisions, let's say, or processes around decisions that we're still trying to understand. And we're going to definitely break down. But the first one was Melbourne City, who had a penalty shout when this was 0-0. It was a handball, which obviously at the time just kind of created a lot of controversy around the ground. I mean, it's clearly hit his hand. I'm assuming the decision of feeling is that the player is too close to the ball for the hand to be, but what do we feel with this one, Thomas? This is obviously pivotal for Melbourne City to get their game going.
Yeah, and I think the frustrating, I understand the frustration from Melbourne City because it comes at a, 0-0 crucial time of the game. And I think it's just, what is the rules? Because you'll see that same situation given next week. He has got his arm out. He does block it. Is it deliberate or not? Who knows? But if I go by what I'm seeing, I think that's a penalty, and it should be in my view, because he's got his arms out. He is blocking the ball, but again,
put it this way. I think it was Elliott that was on the ground there.
Fair call.
If you just watch his body in that position, it could be Thomas Sorensen playing in the Prem.
It could be.
He's come out. He's blocked the cross with his arm. I mean, if you look at it, he's in a goalkeeping position. Almost like that's not a traditional defending position. So I don't understand why that's not rewarded with a penalty. Because
the bit that, sorry to cut you off, great man. The bit that gets me is you can see almost a double movement in his arm. Now, if his arms were straight out, great, fantastic. But there's a point in time, right, where he comes out and now he jerks his arm out.
It stiffens up.
So no, but it is. So he obviously anticipated, and then it is a block.
It's a block. Yeah. So, Stevie Wonder can probably see that one's a penalty, but I don't think it went to VAR.
No, it didn't even get reviewed. So
it wasn't worthy.
Yep.
Yeah. Melbourne City, I've got no doubt we'll be asking questions about that one because that was obviously a big point of the game. But this could be even getting more questions. And this happened out in Wellington. This was actually given as a penalty. Ryan Grant with a little sort of barge on the striker there. And then it comes back to the fourth official questioning the decision. Referee goes to look at the screen, as you'll see here. And you wouldn't believe it, but this gets overturned. No penalty. Guys, Thomas, let's start with you.
Come on, Tomo.
Where are we at with this one? Because this is huge.
It's massive. And for Wellington, again, we just talked about one pivotal moment. Here we have another one. And to me, it's a clear penalty. And especially with the referee giving it. If the referee hadn't given it and he was all, and then you can sort of say, does he make a meal of it? Is it a big push? But he deliberately, it's a deliberate action from Ryan Grant. He sees the ball coming. He knows he's on the wrong side of the striker. And it couldn't be more deliberate pushing it back.
Yeah.
It couldn't be. And for me to comprehend that the referee goes, looks at it, and sees something totally different, that makes me really want to just get.
He's angry. I don't like it when the big man gets angry.
Yeah, he's very balanced too.
He's usually very measured, right?
Hey, VAR can get my blood pumping.
Yeah. What I will say on Wellington, Thomas, is just Josh Oluwayemi.
Yeah.
We did talk about him last week.
Great to see him getting a chance. He had a solid performance. I think that's what he needed. They obviously didn't get a win, and what I also liked was the new caretaker manager having a word with him, speaking to him. Because it's so easy just to, find blame. This is, and put people in the bin like the VAR. And he needs to rebuild it. And I think it was a good start. He's shown that he's a good goalkeeper. So, you know what? We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Get second chances.
Yeah, well done to Joshy. Good boy for getting back out there and played a great game as well against Sydney. Melbourne Victory have been a team that we've been keeping an eye on. Macarthur was lighting up the league, as we spoke of, over the past few weeks. Their results are starting to be a little bit more consistent in some regards, but there is still an inconsistent element to them because they're trending here, guys. I'll go through. They've got 4 unbeaten in their last 4, so that's a good sign. But if you work our way down, they haven't won back-to-back games in 2026, which is obviously something they'll want to change. So their most recent result was Adelaide 1-1 draw, Sydney 3-1 win, Brisbane 1-1 draw, Wellington 3-2 win, Central Coast with a 1-0 loss, Sydney with a 4-0 win, and Adelaide with a 2-1 loss. So I guess the feeling is reason why they're topical, Thomas, is they're just on the edge of if they go the other way here, they're holding some of these draws on. If they start getting losses, they're out of the 6. But equally the other way, they can really jump up into the top of the pack.
Yeah, I think it's a team when you watch them and they're sort of, just hanging there. They could drop either way, and they're living off great moments for Macarthur. I think he's providing a huge difference for them. I think they're sort of tactically, I don't think, it's quite there. I think there's a balance that there's missing. I think we were talking about it before. You mentioned it. And I think you're totally spot on. I think they're conceding some weird goals. And yeah, it's not as fluent as you would expect it to be.
And that's probably the word. If they can find that tactical balance, they're likely to go on that run, Jakey. Otherwise, at the moment, it's been super inconsistent. And again, for a club like Victory, there's always that expectation that comes along with, really, for mine, the biggest club in the league. So that's something they'll be looking to rectify, and hopefully soon for them, because you'd want to get on that, 2-3 game run. Obviously solidify the finals run, and then come in with a little bit of form on the back end.
And they do have one of the best squads in the league. I mean, there's a lot of depth. I mean, I looked in the stands on the weekend. There was Dorigo, Hamill, Jackson, There's plenty of options that aren't even on the bench coming back from injury or just not being selected. So I can't see Melbourne victory falling out of the finals.
Oh, no,
if
no,
anything,
no.
they're a team you don't want to face in finals, as you mentioned, Butker, for the...
Yeah, they just need to get that consistency when they hit finals.
Just
I think
that little run.
That's their focus.
Yeah.
Just that little run for them.
Well, the most consistent team in the league, the Newcastle Jets, finally had their winless streak come to an end against Central Coast in a 0-0 draw, guys. We just got to talk on this game a little bit because there was some tension there, but Newcastle probably should have got the win here. They had a lot of chances, but just Central Coast just showing so much fight at the moment. I mean, Butker, it was a great game to watch, actually.
It was.
And it ended in a draw.
Yeah, no, it was great viewing. From a Central Coast perspective, it's the perfect example of what the A-League can produce, right, year in, year out. So, everyone probably had, chalked a line through them, and all of a sudden they're back in the mix. So fantastic to see from, a club that's, had their struggles. And really, to stop Newcastle's run, it's not bad.
Yeah, a little bit of F3 Derby fire for them, just breaking the winless streak on Newcastle. So that's one that's one for the fans to put on the board. But it wasn't without controversy for everyone at home. We've got to look at Newcastle, a wonderful crafted goal that ended up in an Eli Adams finish, was actually called offside here, Thomas, because Will Dobson deemed to have come back from an offside position, slightly boxed the defender. It is technical, but here we are again with your friend VAR, and the decision was ruled no goal.
Yeah, now, we've seen it a few times. This is probably the one I could sort of understand because there could be does he block, or does he put the defender off a little bit? Could he potentially have come in and blocked it? But it's, this is what I would like to be a goal in football. Like we need to live off goals, and when it comes down to these small technicalities, and I don't think there's, had he sort of given him an elbow straight in the chest, then okay, yeah, there's a block, but. It's a bit like the Braddon one. Yeah, it's there, but it's not really there. And, but I just think it's great to highlight that, Central Coast, Warren Moon, I think Redmayne had a couple of good saves in this one. And they turned the box office Jets into the office Jets.
That's brilliant.
There it is.
The office Jets, to all the Jets faithful. We did start the trend box office Jets, by the way, but now we've started the office.
The last
Jets.
2 games, it's just been the office Jets. They're getting the job done. But you know what? I think there's a lot of credit goes to Central Coast for that performance.
Guys, we've been talking about the teams on the fringes of the 6 all year. The people coming into the finals, popping out of the finals. Now we've been tasked with who we think is going to make the 6 out of these teams, right? So Macarthur currently in 6 on 25 points. Central Coast in 7th, 23. 8 points. Brisbane, are in 8th for 23 points. 9th is Melbourne City, 22. Perth, 10th on 21 points. Western Sydney and Wellington, 11th and 12th, both on 20 points. So... all mathematically capable, which is incredible given sort of some performances we've seen from teams, the spur of runs where you think they might be doing more, and now they're back down the bottom. But I'm going to go to you first, put you on the spot. You give Thomas a bit of thinking time. But out of these teams that I've just mentioned, who is taking that 6th spot? Who is putting their hand up to go in the finals?
Look, I still think sort of from 6th down to 9th, so from Macarthur, Central Coast, Brisbane, Melbourne City, for me, it's one of these teams. In all honesty, Melbourne City's form in the Champions League has been unbelievable. If they can actually hit a run and find some form, I think they're the dark horse for me out of this pack. And they only need, again, we spoke about it with victory, that 2-3 game run. And it puts them right back in the mix. So that's my choice for that.
Their A-League form, though, it's a very, very dark horse.
Yeah, it's a massive dark horse.
They should be a shoo-in off historical form, right, and what we know of them. But this year, Thomas, we were speaking. I mean, I don't know, do you kind of have City as that team as well? Same as now?
I'm hoping. Again, and you look at, they've got Sydney away, which is tough, and Perth. But then they've got all the bottom teams, the teams that are in around them in the last, I think, 5 or 6 games. So it's all there to play for. And if they can get a Matthew Leckie back for the last 3 games, or, kind of Maury, they've got players that can still come and add something. But I'll be disappointed if they're not in the six massively. I think that should be a demand with everything that they put in, despite the Champions League. I think Central Coast will probably be a step too far. I think they're really, they're going above and beyond at the moment. They're scraping a few and they're having a bit of luck. I don't think that will last for the rest of the season. I think the only one I see as another is Western Sydney can get something going. If they can start clicking, they've got the squad and the quality to actually make a great run towards the end of the season. So I'm leaning towards Macarthur, Melbourne City, and Western Sydney, but hopefully Melbourne City. That's obviously where my allegiance lies.
You mentioned Macarthur as well. I mean, one of them two strikers starts firing, and they're flying.
Yeah, it's for them. They've got the advantage, so it's for them to lose.
Yeah.
They need to slip up. Let's be honest.
And on paper, their team. I mean, it's a solid squad.
Yeah.
They should be expecting to be in finals. I expect them to be a little bit higher than what they are now. But in saying that, Thomas, you're right. With Central Coast, with the Western Sydney Wanderers of the world, I know Perth and Brisbane are around that mark, but the form is with those two teams. There's a fairy tale potentially here to come to someone that could come sixth. So we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah. But it is going to be heating up as the games go on for that finals positions. Guys, Newcastle, we mentioned them at the start. They're obviously flying. It just seems like everything's working at the moment for them. They've showed a lot of resilience in what's been a young team, but they've got one big push to go to the back end of this season. And boy, oh boy, is it a tough run. So we're going to go through this because I want to see your opinions of how you think they'll go. But next week, they've got Western Sydney Wanderers at home, then Auckland at home, Sydney away, Macarthur away, Adelaide at home, Melbourne Victory away, Central Coast at home is their run home, Thomas.
No, they got to earn it. That's for sure. And you got to take your hat off if they get through it. But on the other hand, you've sensed that they've got something there. They've got an energy and a belief. And sometimes even if you got a fairly young squad, it's all you need. But it's a long season, and let's hope that it goes all the way to the wire. That's what we as neutrals want. But I think it's definitely in the realms to keep that form to the end of the season.
Butker, what would you be doing if you were? We know you coach football practically all over the weekend, but with a young group of players that are on the cusp of doing something special. How are you helping them to keep their nerve on the back end? Because you know that they can beat all these teams. But how are you going to help the mental aspect, which is going to be pretty important to stay strong when Auckland and Sydney and so forth are knocking on your door?
Yeah, I think it's, for Millsy, pretty easy, right? All they have to do is look back at what they've achieved this year, where they started and where they are today. And there's a really, really good body of work. And the way I'd frame, the next 6 to 7 weeks is what a great opportunity. To really stamp their authority as a younger team and a younger football club, age-wise. So a massive opportunity. So that's how I'd take this challenge to the group of players. And I'm sure in, roundabout way, that's what Mills is doing. Clearly, he's worked really, really well with the group. And exciting. Like you said, it'll be exciting for finals footy, for the neutral football lover. It's probably the team that, it's probably everyone's second team, right, that everyone's barracking for, which is great. So many good stories. Yeah,
and I know I made a bit of fun of the office Jets, but that's the balance that they need to have. You have the box office, but you can't be that every week. For you to be a championship winning side, you got to roll off your sleeves. You got to have those days where it's not always going your way, but you still manage to get a result. And I think they've shown the 1-0 last week. 0-0 probably could have won this one. So they are showing resilience, and I think
bit of grit.
A bit of grit. So if they can find that balance towards the end of the season, grind out results when they're not always the box office, then they'll get there.
Yeah, and sometimes you've got to take a draw.
You
know what I mean? So it's not the worst result in the world, but we're obviously going to be looking forward to their run home. A very difficult run of fixtures for them, but if a team can handle them as shown this season, it's definitely the Newcastle Jets. Now, anyway, for everyone at home, one of the best parts of the show, we put it out every Sunday on our social media channels across the A-Leagues, asking you to ask myself or any of the panel any questions you like. And I think this week might be some of our best because there's a specific task going to a specific someone, which I'll share shortly. But the first one to start us is Liam SSTTT on Instagram. This is for you, Thomas. Should the Mariners re-sign Warren Moon for next season?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think you got enough now to see that he's capable of working in a difficult environment. He's capable of getting the best out of players. They signed a couple of NPL players that have really, done well. There's young players there, and then he's leaning into the experience of Andy Redmayne, and so I think it's something that he needs credit for, and he's obviously an experienced coach on top of all this. So I would say if they can keep hold of him, I would.
Yeah, he's doing an incredible job. A no-brainer from me as well. This one is from Matt on Instagram. And before I get into this, Matt, this is a thank you from me for what you've put in.
And I think from me as well.
And from Thomas
I can't wait for this.
This is going to be absolute... This is called the box office download, and that is because Naum Sekulovski is on the show. But the question is, can you ask Naum Sekulovski to commentate the mascot race that I believe happened out at Auckland on the weekend?
Holy mackerel, what's going on here?
So let's have a look.
This has got
Let's pull this up. Let's put the man on the
Stitch
spot.
up written all over it. Here we go, and we're off. And here we go. The giraffe is absolutely flying the long neck. Have a look at the Macedonian bear and the rocket. They're on his tail. We're at the halfway mark of the halfway, and he gets to the top. I think there's a bit of a neck snap coming in. Bang! There's the neck snap. Here we go. Giraffe still winning. Nearly gets sideswiped by the Falcon. It's a three-man race. The Macedonian bear, can he get out there from the left wing? Oh, look at the Dorito in last place. Absolutely struggling. The rocket now. Oh, what's going on here? He's peacocking. The giraffe's peacocking. Oh, no, he absolutely shits it. Rocket wins. And here comes the Macedonian bear second. And disqualification for the giraffe. What do you know?
What in the world is going on in Auckland? That is the best halftime show I've seen.
Oh, my
That's
God.
unbelievable.
There's a bit of Jackie Moon semi-pro about that. Just a bunch of people causing chaos at halftime.
Oh, so good.
His condolences to the bloke who came third. He was winning the whole way.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
He got a bit cocky at the
Snapped
end.
his neck as well, didn't he,
Deserved
Bucky?
it.
The old
You're
neck
right.
snap. Yeah, what happened there?
Hey, great call from you.
Hey, not bad. We'll just have a throw at the
That
stumps.
seat might be vulnerable now. You might be getting poached to go elsewhere and start doing some live commentary on it.
Highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. Well, we've got a pretty good question that came in, actually, because I did hear about this on the weekend. I don't know if you both saw Luka Ivanovic got a great ball from Ryan White, beat the keeper, did all the hard work, had a shot, hit the post. Obviously was gutted with it because it would have helped him get the win on the weekend. But he's actually gone and put an apology in, I believe, on a Facebook group from his own personal account to the Adelaide fans.
Very proactive.
Yeah, which, I mean, shows the character he is. But does he need to do that? The question here is from Birchie on Instagram. Did Luka Ivanovic need to apologise for missing against Melbourne Victory?
No, in my opinion, absolutely not. Like, you know what, these things happen in football, and life moves on. It's not like you've missed the deciding penalty in a World Cup final where you felt like you've let the world down. We all made mistakes and we all feel guilty and we feel like we've let the team down. But he's done so many great things for the club. I'd rather have him go out and celebrate those things because he's a great young talent. You know what? There's so many other crap things happening around the world, rockets being fired left, right and centre. So you know what? Don't worry about it, son. Just move on and, try to do your best in the next game. Yeah,
well said. Butker, you can't say anything better.
No, it was spot on, Tom. I mean, it's the human element of football. I used to say it to the kids that I used to work with. You never plan on missing, a sitter, or, you never plan on giving away a penalty or missing the ball. The goalkeeper letting a goal in. It's the beauty of our game, right? It's the human element. So I understand where he's coming from. He's trying to do the right thing, get on the front foot, but, probably no need to do that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, shout out to Luka Ivanovic, though. He's been a great player for Adelaide, as Thomas alluded to. Guys, thank you for the show. The league feels like it's starting to shape up a little bit, although that sort of, those back end of the final, there's still some carnage to happen just outside that six and in the six, isn't there?
Yeah, of course. It's the A-League. There's drama. So let's hope it goes all the way to the wire. That's what we want.
Yep.
We can't wait.
Yeah, we can't wait. Buck, a great call from you. Thomas, thank you for the show.
Thanks,
everyone
mate.
at home, thank you for all your likes, comments, and all the people that are subscribing to the A-League channels, supporting the download. We appreciate you. That is all from us here at the A-League's Download, presented by Isuzu. We'll see you next week.